How in the flippity flying mother frickin' frack do you expect me to believe that people are going to find meaningful connections while doing challenges where they're licking condiments off of each other's bodies, bro? Make that make sense.
Baby wanna fuck, coming late, take mine, smashing on the couch, on the floor, done. What?
Love Island is a psyop, and I stand by that. Love Island is probably some of the worst forms of media I've ever consumed in my entire life. I truly believe that show is just genuinely programming people to believe that hypersexuality and eroticism are ways of genuinely connecting with people. It's literally meant to teach you that being more erotically desirable to another human being is somehow a form of currency and meaningful connection, that you can skip the part of being vulnerable and dealing with the mess of an entire another person's autonomy by just simply being sexually desirable. But how does that start? Where does that originate from? For me personally, I believe that for Gen Z at least, we've kind of already been doomed to consume this type of media, right? When we think about the type of age that Gen Z was born into, we were born into an age where there were no longer spaces for people to make connection without paying for something. There were oftentimes places before Gen Z where people would just come together and just commune and connect with. There still are places today, but America has found a way to capitalize a lot of things, such as bowling alleys, malls, things like that, places that are sociable, into consumer capitalism hives, right? And then we think about how that alters how people connect with each other. And then we just think about the digital age in general and how that's created an idea of isolation and impending doom with being an individual, right? Like, just having a phone in general allows you to connect with so many people without actually experiencing forms of intimacy. You can't really connect with the person through that light up rectangle in your hand. You're reading a comment, seeing their face on the phone, maybe you are having a conversation, but there's something different about being with a person in person and connecting with them. But the phone and the internet in general, the digital age, has given this idea that not having to do that and still being able to achieve genuine fusion or intimacy with a person, genuine connection, is possible. It's really not, though, right? And then we talk about corn. Yeah, we gotta talk about this. Oh, God. Damn, I really don't want to talk about this, to be honest. I don't, but you're gonna see how this all ties together, because genuinely this show is actually disturbing. When you actually understand what you're watching, why you're watching it, and what it's programming you to believe, it's insanity. Corn creates this idea that you can immediately experience continuity, right? So we think about, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's a French philosopher that I've been reading up on recently. I'm gonna say it's Bataille, or let me actually just hold on. Give me 1 second. I'm not finna film this video and mispronounce this philosopher's name this entire time. I'm just not gonna do that. I'm not gonna butcher my believability by not being able to pronounce something I'm reading. That's just crazy. So it is Bataille. So Bataille talks about, in his book, talking about eroticism and sensuality and death, right? He talks about how essentially humans are always looking for continuity, right? They're looking for fusion through eroticism or death. And we fear death. Humans naturally fear being confirmed to be discontinuous beings. We want to be in some way transcendent or immortal, right? We want to experience things beyond our vessels. We want to experience things to the fullest, right? And the only ways you can really experience those things is death. You can only really truly experience transcendence by not being held to your vessel through death, right? That's the only way you really, in some way, are continuous, right? You're forever gone, right? But you cannot forever be alive. Sex is a second to that, because it's this idea that you're merging with someone so intimately and so passionately that eroticism comes about, right? This euphoria, these feelings that come with obviously the physical act, but also the emotional connection, right? Depending on who it's with or what the deed is, why the deed is done, right? Corn eliminates all of that by literally teaching you through sight, through auditory teachings, that no matter what the circumstance is, right? There's literal categories, infinite categories of corn that you can consume that teach you whether it's taboo, whether it's traditional, whether it's whatever context, right? There's endless amounts of storyline for corn. And you can consume it and it will teach you as you watch it that achieving this intimate fusion of another person doesn't require levels of vulnerability, transparency, and actual genuine connection. No, you can just skip all that by being extremely hypersexual and erotic, right? How does this tie into capitalism and Love Island? Well, boy, do I got news for you. Love Island is literally a setting where people are placed on an island to hypersexualize themselves and find meaningful connections for a cash prize and to survive the game. The way the whole show is shot, the way the whole show is contextualized, like everybody is fiending for everybody. Everybody look good. Everybody want to mess with everybody, right? Everybody is extremely sexualized. Think about how you're introduced to every single contestant on the show. They don't sit down in well-dressed clothing and talk about their intrinsic value. No, they put on these obvious, very obvious hypersexualized visualizations of the people with this weird erotic club music in the background as they're going over very surface level things about themselves. You just see this random white guy on the screen. He's got glistening abs, amazing physique, Chad chin, hollow cheeks, Clark Kent haircut. Hi, my name's Brad. I'm 25. I can dunk a basketball and my favorite color is green. That's all you hear about him as they're playing this erratic, sexy red rip-off club music, and they're filming his glistening abs in the sun with water from the clear beaches of Hawaii hitting his chest. Like these things are literally filmed for people to consume. And then they do the same thing with the women, if not worse. Because in the women, in my opinion, when I watched Love Island, I think it was season 8. I don't remember exactly who it was, but it felt like all the women were literally being like, they were like being presented like strippers, bro. It was so weird. I'm watching, I'm like, what am I I'm like, is this soft corn? Like, what am I watching right now? And they're not even talking about anything of value about themselves. They like, some of them do, but you know it's BS because they're literally just sitting there bouncing their tatas on the screen, shaking their rumpers on the screen. You're mesmerized by it if you're that idiotic and just that slop hungry, like a pig. Like, you're just ready to eat that up, right? Like, if you really are extremely excited to consume that form of media, you're just not even worrying about what they're saying. You're like, oh my gosh, she's so bad. Especially as a guy, right? Like, I know why a lot of guys consume this stuff. Like, it's pretty obvious, right? It's very easy to market women in a patriarchy as desirable objects. It's not hard. I mean, we've seen it everywhere. Corn, prime. I mean, literally top tier example, right? But anyway, I'm saying all that to say that, tie that into the way the show is literally structured. Okay, these contestants are meant to find meaningful connections in the midst of playing. Like, do you understand how insane this show is? How in the flippity flying mother frickin' frack do you expect me to believe that people are going to find meaningful connections while doing challenges where they're licking condiments off of each other's bodies, bro? Make that make sense. Can you please explain that to me? Explain to me how this show is doing anything but entertaining a mass populace of people and programming them to believe that being able to be seen and desired intrinsically is to be erotic and hypersexualized, that you have to tone your body, tan yourself, get the perm, get the slick back, get the braids, get the curls, get the height, get the athleticism, get all these surface level things. Like, whatever it is, you have to get all these surface level desirable things for your gender, to appease the undergender, to be valued, to get a meaningful relationship. Not to mention that's a substitute for vulnerability in this show is quite literally just kissing and making out. It's literally every single contestant that finds a new connection ends up having these dumb conversations, and they all say the same thing. Yeah, bro, like, Yeah, like I'm be honest here, Amanda. Like I just really can't find these connections with people because I feel like everybody's here for the same thing, you know. And like me personally, you know, back home, even though I was a hoe for the past 10 years, you know, I've really been looking for my soulmate, and I feel like I'm really here. God's put me in this place. This higher beings put me in this place. I've been given this opportunity to meet people like you. You know what I'm saying? And then boom, they're swapping saliva 10 minutes later in some hidden room, and the other person they were just connecting with 2 episodes earlier is off talking about them and how they've been acting funny ever since this new bombshell entered the show. Like this show is quite literally just picking out dating in Gen Z and putting it on the screen for everybody to watch. This is literally what dating is like now, and people eat it up. It's crazy how Gen Z has the most to say about this show, but they're the reasons why the show exists in the first place. Unbeknownst to them, they were taught to do this. We were literally programmed to believe that sexuality and eroticism is somehow a form of transactional currency in a relationship. Like, do you realize that people really correlate vulnerability to sex immediately? They think that there's levels to vulnerability, and somehow having sex with someone is the deepest level of intimacy you can achieve with someone. Which, if that's your argument, I completely understand, but I like to disagree. I believe really revealing your sense of autonomy to somebody is the highest degree of intimacy. It's beyond physicality because you're literally showing somebody your entire essence. I'm talking about being as ugly, mean, yet as beautiful as possible at the same time. That person is still choosing to pick you and be with you and work through you and your problems is the highest level of intimacy. Me stripping naked and infusing with you for temporary erotical pleasure is not the highest level of intimacy. But we're taught that you can skip all these levels of vulnerability and get to the highest form of connection and create a continuous tie of fusion with someone by giving up your body. And this show is literally teaching you that not only can you do that, but then you can get on the show and make money from doing it, right? And then you gotta think about what happens to these contestants after they leave the show, or even when they first get to the show, right? Their social media and everything around their image on the online is centered around what they're presenting in the show, right? So you're constantly fed the algorithms, and you're constantly fed their videos, and their videos are supporting the narratives they've been playing in the show, right? Like, for example, I remember watching Love Island, bro, for the first time ever, and I was like really cool with Ace because I think it's a season. I don't know what season it is that Ace is in, but Ace stuck out to me because he wasn't really playing the game. Like he was, but he wasn't, and I was like, he's actually kind of different. Like something's a little different about him. Like he's actually understanding he's actually understanding, like, bro, this is a game. Like he kept saying that throughout the season, right? But then he was partaking in the game, and then I realized that Ace is like a plant for people who think like me, who think outside the box. Like Ace is that guy that thinks beyond the game, but he still plays the game, and therefore by default he's a part of the system. He's a part of the narrative that the show is trying to sell you. So I had to immediately take a step back. I was like, whoa, like they actually almost had me hooked on this show because I was watching it, and I was watching it with the only interest of watching Ace's progression through the game. I was rooting for Ace the whole time because I could see myself in Ace. I could see myself doing those things. And I was like, bro, they want me to be the person in this show. They want me to feel like I can be in this show. Because if you can be in this show, that means somehow, some way, the things that they're achieving in this show intrinsically are also capable for you. You can go and find somebody that you're so erotically aroused by, you're so in tune with intimately, right? That you give up your body so quickly for, right? That you can transcend this discontinuous individualistic life you've been doomed to live, or believe that you've been doomed to live, by constantly doom scrolling on your phone, being alone in your room 24/7, not going nowhere aside from work or aside from wherever fast food joint you want to get food from, or hanging out with those friends occasionally who you really don't like, right? Like this show sells you this cap wrap of like fantasy land. Like, oh, if you find this extremely attractive person and they find you extremely attractive, and y'all create this connection, y'all can transcend each other's individualism and become this one connection, and y'all can just take yourselves so far into society. You can build a life together. I mean, just look at these two contestants and what they've done for themselves on this show. That could be you. No, it can't. It can't be you, bro. Like, wake up and realize what you're digesting on this show. This show is literally telling you to your face that your only sense of value is being erotic. being hypersexualized. And what's crazy is people will comment on this show being hypersexualized and erotic, but still partake in eroticism and hypersexuality outside of the show and deem that somehow different when it's not. Because you've been subconsciously programmed since you came out the womb based on what you've been digesting since you were a child, because we've been doomed from the start to feel like this as the generation that has this thing, this dumb thing. We got that dumb thing, and we've been being fed things that have transcended what we thought is a person. Like, do you understand there's discussions about humans transcending humanity? Like, why are we having discussions about humans trying to transcend being human beings? Like, there's literal discussions online right now about humans trying to find a way to become transcendent beings, bro. Like, we're trying to find ways to become one with AI and become immortal? Like, do you understand how crazy that is? When there was once a time where Bobby, Sally, and Jack would kick rocks and kick the can down the street, and that was connection. But we were born into a time where this little glowing rectangle with buttons on it has all these ways of connecting with so many different ideas, beliefs, religions, cultures, like all these different things, all these forms of media that can be algorithmized and then sent to you to teach you who you think you're supposed to be. And this show is a psyop of that, of a prime example of a psyop of what produces from that, bro. Like, literally this show is telling you that you are not valuable inherently. You're not enough. So you have to go find a counterpart who finds you just erotic enough or just sexualized enough to be in constant competition with other people around you, seeking the same supposed specialized, unique eroticism and sexuality they find for you in other people. And you're supposed to constantly one up those people, not knowing where the bar is at, to keep that person with you. Like, in the show, people are literally going around the island making out with each other, having sex with each other, and then they turn around and they're like, well, like, this connection is different because da 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 da. No, bro, her lips were just softer, her ass is just fatter. No, sis, you just think his wee wee bigger and he look better than so and so. Like, these are things that are actually happening in the show. And what's crazy is people are taking these characterized, narrativized versions of these people that are being fed to them through the screen and making it a part of themselves without even realizing it. Like, you are what you consume. You have to understand that to the degree that no matter what you consume, you will become parts of those things you consume. If I consume media every day that tells me I'm a skinny loser, I'm forever going to believe I'm a skinny loser no matter how much I do outside of my consumption. There's always going to be this subconscious replay of what I've been seeing, what I've been hearing. And if I teach myself these things, I will believe these things. So apply that to this. Apply that to people who are watching this show consistently. Apply this to people who are itching for this show to come out, itching for this next piece of media that it correlates to this show. Their entire feed is filled with Love Island banter and gossip and leaks and all types of stuff, right? Like, they're consuming this show. They're consuming the very core and essence and roots of what this show is based on, and they're sucking the roots dry, bro. They're getting every lick of sap from the tree that is Love Island and is capitalism and is eroticism, right? They're just dying to get the next lick of maple syrup from this tree, bro. Like, you have to understand, there's people who are always going to consume this and never escape this matrix of what they think is reality based on what this show is telling them. But there's always a demographic of people that can step outside of that but never will, because they can't face the fact that this show isn't real. The show ain't real, bro. Wake up. Like, I want you to genuinely understand what you're consuming, bro. Dead ass. Like, you have to, like, there has to be at some point where you make this stuff, like, not be able to be produced. This is by far, this is literally brain rot. Like, I don't, like, this show, like, I can't watch it anymore. Like, there was one point where I was trying to watch it with somebody I was close with at the time, a couple months ago, and, like, I had to stop because it was literally changing the way I was looking at interactions in person. Like, my interactions in person became more surface level the more I consumed that show, because that show is somehow teaching you that being as surface level as possible with somebody to the point where all you care about is how good they look and how much you want to use their body for your own primitive pleasure. it's like that, like that's insanity. Like that's literally insanity. And you take that and then you apply this to the real world, and like it completely screws with how you interact with people. It does on a subconscious, on a fundamental subconscious level. You change the way you look at people watching that show. 100%. I know I was very passionate about this video about that, but I had to get this out, bro. Like this was itching my brain. Like this all started because I saw Love Island TikTok, and I was like, this show is literally the epitome of like just cap rap. Like, what even is this? This is like brain rot, corn slop. That's literally what this show is. Like, how do people consume this on a day-to-day basis? But anyway, you already know what I'm about to say, man. That's just me, though.